And this is a special discussion on branding. This was a response to something I believe it was Anjani brought up. She has two different types of photography that she's doing, and she was wondering, should she brand them separately? And in some cases, that's important. And the only thing I can tell you is you have to look at it from all sides and look at it from the side of your consumer or your customer or your client base. So in most things, I recommend that you brand yourself and then run everything under that. However, in photography, there are some distinctions. If you do boudoir or weddings or maternity, I would brand that separately. Also family photography. Brand it separately instead of putting it all under one brand. And there's a reason for it. I also would use a fictitious name, like Perfect Memory Photography or Magic Moment Photography. And there's a very good reason for that. Does anyone know what the reason is? Anybody want to pop in with the reason? Why would that make sense? Hello, Sheila. Well, the reason it makes sense is you can sell it. If you build the business up in your neighborhood, your town, your area, your region, your city, you build it up, you can sell it. You can walk away from it. In commercial photography, it's your name. And that's because ad agencies aren't going to hire Perfect Moments Photography to do anything. They're just not. They hire people. They're looking for a single person. So when Don Giannetti closes his doors, there's nothing to sell. Nobody's going to hire Don Giannetti if his name is Bert. Yeah, I bought Don Giannetti Photography. I'm not Don Giannetti, I'm Bert. It's not going to work. But in consumer photography, especially wedding, portrait, maternity, family, and stuff, you can sell those businesses. There's a formula for it, but it's not a bad, you've earned it. You've built up a clientele and you can walk away from it. The other reason is that wedding photography, family photography, kids and stuff, consumer photography, the end use is exactly what the photographer has decided. So when you're composing images, when you're shooting images, you shoot what you want. You shoot what looks good to you. You shoot whatever. It's all you. And in the commercial world, as you all know, since from the types of assignments we're doing, in the commercial world, that's just not the way it is. In the commercial world, there's a lot of other things to consider. Layout, design, what's the purpose of the picture, what's the pricing of the picture, the usage of the picture, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. That is a different world. And so when you combine the two, art directors have, over the years, been desperately burned by photographers, good consumer photographers, but they're handed a layout and they have no idea what to do with it. Or they're given a set of parameters for print and they don't know what to do with it. I've told this story before, but I was working with a group of photographers, talented guys, to shoot a calendar. The calendar was square, and we had reshoot after reshoot with these guys because they would not shoot it where a square crop could happen. Their complaint was, well, it doesn't look good if I do it that way. No, it doesn't look good on the back of your screen. No, because the top, 20%, the bottom 20% we're getting rid of. We just need the middle, and you've got to be able to shoot that. It was like pulling teeth. It's a terrible weekend. It was fun because they finally got it and they learned it, but it was a terrible weekend. We were in Mexico with a ton of models, and I had everything set up there to build the calendar as it was shot, and it was a tough one. So you can see the frustration. So in those cases, I would brand it separately. But let's talk about other ways of making money. Let's talk about channels of your business. Channels are different venues where you as a creative person can create value and sell it. I have what I call complementary and disparate channels. Okay, this is the way to look at it. Complementary to photography would be fine art photography, education, graphic design, architecture, writing, consulting. Photographers you might be in a position where you consult with someone who's writing a book and putting together photography. Let's say they were doing a history book on your city, uh, uh, book of your town from 1850 to 1950, or I don't know, 1814 to 2014. So they're not really needing your photographs. You can't go back to 1814 and make photographs. They're pulling them in, but they may need a photographer to consult with them on how to prepare those images, repair those images, get them ready for publication, et cetera, et cetera. So there's a consulting job as a photographer that you get paid for. And they're not as rare as you think. There's lots and lots of places that need good visual consulting. So those are complementary. In the disparate channel, I've listed things that I know photographers who have done these. Jay Silverman in Los Angeles used to have a burger shop right next to his gourmet burgers, by the way. I mean, like incredible, strange burgers with, sun-dried tomatoes from south of France type of burgers. But anyway, he had that right next to his photography studio. A photographer in Seattle that my sister-in-law knows is also a rock music promoter. There's a couple of photographers that I know of, not know personally, who are also modeling agents. In Tucson, there's a photographer who also does landscape design. There's an interior design. I know a photographer who became an architect when he was 55. He became an architect, not an architect with an architectural degree, so he wasn't licensed to be an architect, but he designed interiors, and then other architects would come and work for him and turn them into buildings and homes. And there's a big, beautiful housing development in Santa Fe, up on the hills around Santa Fe, and they were all designed by a photographer. And when you're in we actually went through the homes as a tour, open house type of thing. And as you're in the house, if you're in any of the main rooms, you can read a newspaper without turning on a light because of the way all the windows in the ceiling. He had clerestory windows and little arching areas up on top that would catch the light, bounce it down the room. So that it was amazing because he was a photographer. The guy who designed the Phoenix Library, Phoenix Downtown Library, is also a photographer. So those are disparate channels that you can look at and think about. We don't have to do just one thing anymore. And I'm not telling you that you shouldn't do one thing. I'm saying we don't have to. If you're a photographer, commercial photographer, you might want to branch out into fine art. Maybe you want to do a teach a little bit at one of the schools, community college, or what have you. Graphic design, well, I'm a big fan of that because I do that as well. I'm also a writer and a consultant. Architecture, no, I couldn't even build a doghouse, but you can look at doing these different things. You do not want to get in a situation where you brand all these different things. You don't want to have a photography brand and a different brand for fine art and a different one for graphic design and a different one for writing, because managing all those brands is, well, at the point you had 3 or 4 of them, you'd be doing nothing but managing brands and you wouldn't get any work done. It becomes insane. But if you brand yourself, then everything that flows from you is your brand, or part of your brand, or an extension of your brand. Yes.
John, Scott's posted onto the Facebook group to say he's been trying to get on and he's getting no audio, and he's going to try his iPhone.
Okay. I'll keep watching for him. Oh, there he is. All right. Scott got on. Good. So those channels that we have. As long as you, and you can, by the way, you can brand yourself over here, photography, restaurant, modeling agent. Can any of you guys think of a photographer who has a brand that includes being a CEO? Anybody?
Chase Jarvis.
Chase Jarvis. What else is Chase Jarvis? He's an online personality, on-screen personalities like Johnny Carson. He does shows. They're internet shows, but he does that Chase Jarvis Live about, what, once or twice a month?
Right.
Right. When he started, he had photographers on, correct? Who does he have on now? Writers, tech people, innovators, musicians. He's expanded. Could you do that? Yeah, every one of you could. Every one of you could. Landscape design. If you're a great landscape shooter, maybe start working some of that into, because landscape designers do not need to have a, in Arizona anyway, I don't know other places. Landscape designers do not have to have a what's it called?
License.
Yeah, a license. You can, if you're good at it, people can hire you. You can design it. When people are bringing the rocks in and putting up the trees, then you can go to contractors and have them do it. But as far as designing it, just if you're good at it, design it, add it to it. It's easier to add it to it under your creative self. Here's what I call the way to look at it. This is the brand. Here's you. This is the brand right here. And under the brand is photography, design, and writing. That would be me. Under the brand, me, are these guys right here. I don't have to do anything extra when I add something else. If I decide to add up here, I don't know, acting. Okay, I add acting. I don't have to do anything else. I don't have to create a new logo. I don't have to create a new persona. I don't have to create a new anything. I just have to create a new page on my website that says acting and go out and start doing that. And I can use all of the other parts of my brand to help support that. I can say, oh yeah, I'm a photographer and a designer and a writer, and I'm a constant pain in the ass to everybody on Facebook. I've got a persona. This is me. Everybody knows I'm the kind, gentle person. Or I could go this way and have a different brand for photography and a different brand for design and a different brand for writing. And now I've got to work 3 different plans, strategies, tactics. I've got to get in touch with 3 different levels of people or types of people. And nothing I do supports the other. Why bother doing that? It just doesn't make sense. So one of the things that I wanted to show you is a couple of folks who do that. One person who does that is, of course, me. Notice I brand myself. Me, big orange freaking letters. Paul Jarvis. Paul Jarvis is a writer, a web designer, and an educator. Paul also is now creating. Paul writes books like they're going out of style. I think he's into writing like a book a year now. He has online courses like how to create a kick-ass website online, kind of like I do my Project 52. He has online courses. He has joint ventures where he goes in with another creative person to create a product that lives for a month online and then goes away. He's written for pretty much all the major tech or business magazines out there, and has created websites for some of the biggest names in the I would say the mentoring consulting business. So it's it's a wide ranging things that he does. And what does he brand? He brands himself. That's it. He just brands himself. Everything falls underneath that. There's who he writes for. So you can do this You should know Paul Jarvis too. I think he's a pretty interesting guy. This is a PDF. I linked to it. It's called What is Personal Branding? It's a pretty good PDF. It's a little drier than a lot of the other stuff, but sometimes I think you need this drier thing, the drier approach, so that you can put your own self into it. This is really fun. I like it. This right here, a personal image is not a personal brand. No, it's not. A personal brand is what people think you are when you're not there, and that's the simplest way to put it. When people hear your name, what do they think of? If they think of if they hear your name and they think of photography, then that's your brand. If they think of your name and they think of creativity, then that's your brand. Your brand is not your logo or what colors you chose or what stationery you use or any of that. That is not your brand. Your brand is you. What do people think of when they hear your name? And if you can control that, you can control how you move through the business world. This whole idea of personal branding was started a long time ago by an article, and I still have the Business 2.0 or Fast Company. That Fast Company was the magazine. I still have this issue, and it was by Tom Peters, who I'm a big fan of. Tom Peters published this article, and this was the cover of that Fast Company, the brand called you. And you should go back and read this, and I see if there's a date on this thing. I want to say 2001 or something like that. 1997. Oh my God. So way back. I was in my ad agency days when this came out, and we in the agency we just all jumped all over it, and we had quotes printed out and stuck on everybody's machines and everything because it was so true. We wanted our employees to brand themselves too, because their brand would help our brand as an ad agency. So go and read this, and there's tons and tons and tons of stuff on personal branding. That before you read any of that, you really want to go and read the thing that started it all from '97. A gal named Ash Ambridge. Ash Ambridge was a copywriter, just a little copywriter, who got into a lot of financial mess because if you live in New York as a copywriter and you're making $45,000 and spending $65,000, eventually it catches up to you. And she ended up broke and having to almost declare bankruptcy. So she moved to Peru because she could live in Peru for peanuts, keep some of her clients here in the States, and slowly dig herself out of debt. She made a deal with herself that she'd make $97,000 in 2007, I believe. And she did. She made $99,000. And she did it by creating product, a book, an ebook that she sold, and a little online course that she sold, and building up a huge business. It's following. It's now the Middle Finger Project. For those of you who are offended by dirty language, don't go there. She's a potty mouth, but that's part of her brand. And her thing is, if you don't like it, you're not right for me. And there you go. Can't argue with that. That's the thing. Now she has lots of online products. She has an online following of about, on her news, I think her newsletter goes out to something like 700,000 people, and her blog is read by 1.5 million or 2 million people. So when Ash brings out a new book, and she has 2 million people following her, she brings out a new book, it's an ebook, it's an e-course, whatever, she immediately signs up 500 people. 500 people times $400 is a lot of money. And she is very, very popular. She's writing for major magazines, etc., because she has the brand. But the brand isn't anything but her. It's all her. Another person who's done that very well is Erica Napolitano. who wrote a book called The Power of Unpopular. It's one of my favorite books. It's a very, very good book on understanding going with the flow or going against the flow, and how many people that we know the names of are the people who go against the flow, not with the flow. And Erica is also a writer and a speaker and a designer as well. So Chase, we all know Chase. Look at what he's doing on his blog, which is where the bulk of his interest lies. Life-changing risk. What's this over here? Ice water for ALS, ice bucket challenge thing, whatever. Creative work. All kinds of creativity here. Greg Packer, all this kind of creativity based on him. And so what did Chase do? He built up a good, solid commercial photography business in Seattle. He started branding himself through video and online postings, and took that big group of people that followed him and sold, created an app called Best Camera, and sold something like 2.5 million of those things, making about $2 a piece. Took that money, rolled it into a little tech online teaching thing called Creative Live, and now look where it is. And part of that success that Chase had is because Chase branded himself. He didn't brand his photo studio, branded himself. When you hire Chase Jarvis, you hire Chase Jarvis. And the name is now synonymous with entrepreneurialism in many ways. When you think of Chase, you think of all these different things that he does. I don't think of photography. I think of all these other creative things that he does. So, let's see. What else do we have? All right. Also, I had some people on the last call ask me about being introverted. Yeah, I'm introverted. I'm very happy by myself. But sometimes you have to step out of that introvertedness and not be. So here's a pretty good little article on thinking about it. You can personally brand yourself. You can be a brand. You can be a name, an entity, without giving up your introvert or thinking that you have to be an extrovert and a person that bounces all around to be a brand. You do not have to be. This is linked to that Facebook page, as is this one. If you're not familiar with Neil Patel, I would really recommend you look up QuickSprout. QuickSprout, Neil Patel is just an amazing guy. He knows more about online branding and online websites and building client bases than anybody I know in the business. If I had the money to hire Neil, I would hire Neil. And if I hired Neil, I'd probably end up with 150,000 more followers in a month. He's brilliant. And the neat thing is he gives it all away. It's all here. This is a very large post. It's not just one page. As you can see, on this first page, it's taking you to chapter 1. And then there's a chapter 2 and a chapter 3. Chapter 4, 5, 6, and 8. So this is a big thing, folks. It's awesome. And to think that when you go through,
John?
he gave this away for free is amazing. Yeah.
John, someone's making a lot of noise. I think everyone needs to mute.
Yeah, please. If you're not talking, mute yourself, please. Thank you. I have my audio turned down, so the only way I can hear anybody right now is if they make a lot of noise. Thanks for that, Claire. So you really, really want to jump in here to this thing and bookmark it, and it will open your eyes to some of the things you can do today to start to build a personal brand, and that is pretty amazing. And again, like I say, when you read it, just blown away that Neil gives this stuff away. Why does he give it away? Because his brand is that of being an online genius guru. He's happy to give this away. Think about, if he's giving all this away, what does he bring to the table when you hire him for $100,000? Obviously, he knows more than this because he's willing to give this away. That's a strategy. And it works in photography too. So, and seventh, this is from Forbes, 7 things you can build an awesome personal brand. It's a short little article. I thought it was well written, and I met Shema once, and I thought, oh, what the heck, I can pimp her little article. So those are some of the resources for you guys to take a look at to discuss it. What you do to build a personal brand. When you take it on, understand that your personal brand stretches beyond your business and it becomes you. We've talked about this in the past. It goes all the way to your wardrobe. If you've ever noticed rock stars, and who can't these days, right? Rock stars. Why do they dress the way they dress? Because it's part of their brand. They want you to remember them. Can you imagine Steven Tyler if he had just a regular haircut and wore Izods and jeans? Would that be Steven Tyler? When you think of Steven Tyler, do you think of his music or do you think of Steven Tyler? Seriously. You think of Steven Tyler. He's just, nutcase, right? Dreadlocks and 60 years old looking like he's 15. You think of him. When you think of Rod Stewart, what do you think of? Think of that hair. Think of Rod Stewart. You rarely think of the music. The music's part of it, but Rod Stewart is the brand. Why do actors do other things besides act? Because it helps to build their brand themselves. They are the quintessential personal brand. Some actors build a personal brand by not wanting to follow the path and be a typical Hollywood actor. And can anybody think of a big name actor who doesn't follow that sort of Hollywood in all the tabloids and things? Anybody? There's several, but I can think of a few. Harrison Ford, one. Denzel Washington. You don't see Denzel Washington all over the tabloids. Why? He doesn't live that kind of lifestyle. He's not looking for it. The people that you see all over the tabloids love being all over the tabloids, or they wouldn't be there. They can complain about it. They can whine about it, but in the end, it's all part of their brand. Can you think of anybody that has a brand that is not complimentary? At least it isn't to me. I think of Miley Cyrus. When you think of Miley Cyrus, do you think of singer? Or do you think of her antics? Or what's that other actress? I can't think of her name. Lindsay Lohan. When you think of Lindsay Lohan, just think about it. You don't think of Lindsay Lohan. You think of the antics she does. That's part of her brand. So, all right. So that's my little discussion on branding, and it's there to help create ideas in your brain for questions. So now we'll take questions. I can. Whose blog seems to be down, Sally?
Chase Jarvis.
No, it's here. blog.chasejarvis.com/blog for some reason. I don't know why that is. Maybe it might be down now. I cached this page quite a while ago, so it may be down now.
It looks like it's down right now, but maybe my security settings too are blocking it for some reason. But it's saying the server can't be accessed because I was following along on all the sites.
Huh. And notice how Chase has other things to build his brand.
It is broken.
What's that? Is it the link that's broken?
It is broken. I went through Google to see if I could get it that way, and it is broken.
Oh, interesting. Well, I hope
He's
it
saying
wasn't.
error establishing a database connection.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Are you on a Mac too, Claire? Maybe it's a
No
Mac.
PC.
I can't get it either. I'm on a PC as well.
Okay, so he's having WordPress issues today. Good thing I cached this page, huh? And here's Chase
You
Jarvis.
can get his website. You just
Yeah, his website's a different technology. It's not pulling from a database. Interesting. And that's why, by the way, we always talk about Instagram, right? Tumblr, YouTube. YouTube is a massive market for photographers that, interestingly enough, and this is my fault, I don't push enough of you guys to YouTube, but I should be, because YouTube is probably one of the strongest ways to build your brand. They can see you. You don't have to do behind the scenes videos of your shoots. You can do videos of your work. You can do videos of you working. You can do interviews of the people you're working with. We just did a little fashion shoot, and the art director on the fashion shoot, she pulls out her iPhone and she sets up a really nice little area and then puts the models and the art director and the designer in there, and she does this little interview with them. It's part of the deal. And it's really fun to see her do this. And this all ends up on her blog, and it helps build her brand. No one's ever seen her. Mignon is not visible on her blog. She is the Chic Spy, chicspy.com. Have a question about choosing the tools to use. Sure, Sally, what is it? What do you mean?
How do you go about, what are a list of tools that you suggest be considered? And then how do you determine if you should use them? Part of it would have to do with, how much time do you have, and how do you use the least amount of tools, I think, to be maximally effective.
Well,
I think you pointed out like Tumblr, Instagram, and YouTube as very important. But, you can see that you get different audiences in a way with different tools.
exactly.
But you do truly just have so many hours in the day.
Exactly. And my YouTube channel is pretty much made up of some older videos that I did, and then if you go to my YouTube channel, which is WizWow, every time I find a cool Photoshop tutorial or lighting tutorial or something online, I add it to it. So instead of searching all around, you can just simply go to the WizWow channel and just find, there's hundreds of Photoshop tutorials there. At some point, I probably should categorize them, but it's great for me because if I need to show somebody a video, I can just pop over to my channel and I can find it there. But I don't use YouTube very well at all. The way you decide what you're going to do is almost backwards from what you asked me. You cannot choose a social media tool for branding that you don't enjoy. And I'll tell you why. You can't Twitter. That's the easiest one to show you. If you're not into Twittering, you can't Twitter. You shouldn't Twitter. It won't be fun for you. It will be a miserable experience. I Twitter 5 days a week because it's fun for me. I enjoy it. And that's the only reason I do it. I don't do it. I don't even know how many fans I have. Last time I checked how many people were following me was months and months ago because somebody asked me a question. So I don't care about it. I don't try to do that. I do it just for me. When I started blogging, way back when, I didn't check my stats for 2 years. I just blogged. I didn't go in to see who was following me. I didn't have Google Analytics running because I was afraid if I did that and I checked and I found I only had like 11 people that I would stop, and I didn't want to stop. So because I did it for me, it was a way of relaxation. I'd love to go back to my old Blogger blog and see some of the stuff that I had up. It was a lot of fun. So you do it because you like it. I like Tumblr and Instagram, as you all know, because of who goes there. Tumblr and Instagram are where art directors are, photo editors, creative directors, brand managers. They love Instagram and Tumblr. And now that we're reading more and more about how brand managers and art directors are going to Instagram, that's going to do what? It's going to make more art directors and brand managers go to Instagram because they want to do what everybody else is doing. And it's, oh my God, if they're finding great talent over there, I need to be there too. And so that's what you do. None of them are hard, but you are correct. If you're doing 10 of them, then you're spending all your time doing that and not doing something else. I recommend, if you're not into blogging, if you really just, blogging is like, oh, I don't know if I want to write a blog today, but you just want to share your photographs, then I recommend, even if your website is a WordPress, even if it's WordPress, go with Tumblr. Just do a Tumblr. You can post to Tumblr from your smartphone, from your iPad, from your Android pad. You can post from your computer. You can shoot images on your many cameras, like my 6D. I can shoot on my 6D and push a button and send it to my Tumblr. So there's all that kind of stuff that you can do. So Tumblr makes it really fast, really easy, and you have a built-in Tumblr audience. There are millions and millions of people on Tumblr, and they have a chance to see your work, and you have a way to build it rather than trying to get them to come to your website. Now, flip side of that coin is your blog on your website is it's the catalyst to make your website change often so that Google rates it higher. Google does not like dead websites. It likes websites that are being updated all the time, which is what a blog does to your website. So if your website becomes very static because you're using Tumblr, then that can be a problem too. Ways around it, but content is, we always talk about content being king, and it is these days. Content is king. Everything is about content, but it's about the right kind of content in the right kind of place. So which tools do I recommend? I recommend Instagram, Tumblr, YouTube, your personal blog, and Pinterest. And I can recommend Pinterest. Doesn't mean I use it. I have a psychological difficulty with pinning other people's work to my page. I can't hardly do it. So I pin my own things. I do have private pins pins on Pinterest that I use for mood boards for clients. Like right now I've got 3 clients and I've got 3 private boards for them. And when I find things that I think they should see, I pin it up to their boards. But that's because more from a designer's hat than a photographer's hat for sure. Questions? More questions? Seriously?
Well, give me a time to get unmuted.
What's that?
I said, give me time to get unmuted.
Oh, okay. I heard somebody else say they had a question.
I got a quick question. This is Kelly. How do you, I use Facebook and Instagram, and, I like to use Tumblr more also, but is there a problem with diluting the same content across all these platforms? Do you see that as an issue, or, posting the same stuff on Facebook as you do on Twitter, as you do on Instagram and stuff?
No, let's put it this way. On my Facebook page, we used to call them fan page, the business page I have, I generally try to post something to there every day. And I'll post either my Lighting Essentials blog post that I just did, or I'll post a link to something else I find really fascinating. So I'm trying to putting up new stuff. I'll tell you, getting attention on those pages is extremely difficult. And you cannot get attention. If you have a business page, like a fan page, a public page on Facebook, you cannot get attention if you don't put a photograph in there. So I shoot I don't shoot nearly enough. for me. But I shoot enough pictures that I can always stick a photograph in there. I mean, if I go out and shoot, I'm going to have, lots to choose from. I can stick a picture in there. You've got to put a photograph on it. But the people who see you on Facebook, maybe 150, I have, well, I can show you. I have like almost 5,000 followers on Lighting Essentials. And how did it do? My last post. We'll bring it again. Oh, this stupid thing. So I got 4,356 people who follow this, and my last post that went up reached 1,805 people. Oh, this is because it was on Petapixel. Okay, so Petapixel drove a lot of people to it. So here's one on SEO for photographers' websites, and 135 people saw it.
Okay.
So I could post that on Tumblr. If I have any crossover, let's say I have a small percentage of crossover, what would that be? 10 people? I don't care.
Yeah.
They see it. Yeah. 10 people, that's fine.
But,
so photographing
yeah,
mundane subjects here. I can put this picture up on Tumblr. This only reached 376 people. The place I spend most of my time on Facebook is my personal profile page. That's where I argue with everybody and become a general pain in the ass. And those are just people who are invited, by me. It's not public. So when you go to my Tumblr page, my Tumblr page, I have, as you guys probably know, I don't have a lot of time. I don't waste time. Sometimes it looks like I'm wasting time twittering, but I don't. Oh, come on. I don't Twitter 6 times during the day. I set all my tweet ups first thing in the morning. About 5:30 in the morning, I set up all my tweets.
Use like what is that? Hoots or something?
Yeah, I use
program.
I use TweetDeck.
TweetDeck. Oh.
Yeah. So I find it's because it's spelled wrong. It's not Tumblr with an R, you idiot, Don. Yeah. No wonder it doesn't work. So when you go to my mine here, notice that I have a picture that I posted today. Rah, there it is. I also, in my queue right now, I've got 9 more pictures. I'll post every day. I do this at the beginning of the month, and I try to go overflow. So, tomorrow or maybe later today, it's Sunday, I'll sit down and I'll add 30 more pictures to Tumblr, and they just go up one a day.
Okay.
And I use it to put little quotes that I find interesting in. But the pictures are all posted well in advance.
Okay. Saves you time that way.
It saves me time, and then I can use Tumblr then for those little quotes, and they fill in the day, so to speak. Something that's really fun. I use it like an online memory thing. Instagram, I don't. And again, I'm not pushing for a lot of followers on Instagram. I may in January really push for me to build my Instagram following. And I think that's a strategy. Instagram is a strategy. What you post and what you do each day is such an important strategy. So I have 975 followers and 226 posts. So I've only put 226 pictures on here. I'm very erratic about it. Very erratic. Well, look at that. Since vote day, 4th of November, I put up what? 8, 9 pictures. So, that's stupid. If you want an Instagram strategy, it's got to be better than 9 pictures a month, all right?
Right.
It really is.
I've got a question too. I have a Facebook page, also have a my official business page or whatever, and I found that there's a lot of talk about Facebook business pages not getting any. They don't go out as well.
Right.
Not
The
a lot of people
algorithms
see them.
are
Yeah.
yeah. You have to have a very popular post.
So I started not posting on my business page and mostly on my personal page.
Uh-huh.
I've seen some photographers, they just use their personal page for posting. I've seen some photographers they post the same thing on the personal page and on their photography page.
Yeah, you
So
can do that. Absolutely.
I don't know what you recommend.
One post per day on your photography page is enough to keep it going. If it's interesting, you have to ask yourself. And by the way, there are some people who have very, very popular Instagrams and Tumblrs. Super popular Instagrams and Tumblrs. You look at the work, and what is the work? Well, it's what people are interested in. So if you're putting up, like I put up little funny things I see with my camera phone, I just go, I like the light, click it. But if I was putting up behind the scenes shots of models that I photographed, I would gain a lot of followers because pretty girls, right?
Right.
But I would also have a group of followers that were of a constituency. I might not have as many women graphic designers following me as I would want if all I'm doing is putting up lingerie shots of models behind the scenes, right? So yeah, I could end up with 10,000 guys following me, but would it be 10,000 valuable people? No, I don't think so. Chris Burkhardt has something like 700,000 people following him. He does adventure landscape photography. And of those 700,000 people that follow him, a whole lot of them are art directors, people who love the outdoors, people who make kayaks and stuff, and it brings him work. So you have to decide what you're going to do. I'm growing up a little bit here in December, deciding what I'm going to do starting January. There'll be a lot more activity on my site as I create some new content. But it's a strategy. So if all you want is followers, kitty pictures and half naked girls will, you can punch it. But it doesn't do anything for you. It's just empty followers. So, think of that. What are you going to post? For some food bloggers have, million people, 2 million followers because it's food. Food crosses a lot of demographics. And if you're a food photographer, a food blog is like a given. You have to. I mean, you've got to do recipes and everything. I mean, it's just expected. You're a food photographer. This is your specialty. So.
Right. So, okay. So I should I kind of left my Facebook business page alone. I haven't done much, so I'm thinking about just at least cross-posting between my personal and business. What if you did
this? What do you do in your regular business? What is your specialty now?
I do a lot of music. I work with a lot of musicians around town. That's probably what I do most.
Okay. Start pulling outtakes. And every Wednesday, post an outtake of a band and talk a little bit about the band. One paragraph every Wednesday. Boom. Just like clockwork. And then post maybe on Friday. Post music do you have post the 5 hottest bands playing in your town that weekend, where they're playing.
Okay.
That'd be great. That becomes interesting content. That can also go, by the way, on your blog, on your website. So a lot of different ways to go with that.
Okay.
Okay, questions?
Yeah, Don.
Yeah.
I chose the name Southwestern Photography for my brand, and the reason why I did it was that I had been reading. There was a woman who was a family photographer, and she said the mistake that she had made was using her name as her brand, and that's why I went to something other than my name. And then, now that you're saying it, she's a family photographer, so within your framework, it makes sense for her to have a brand name that she can market and sell.
Right.
So at this point, I have Southwestern Photography, and I'm thinking reconsidering that based on what you're saying and establishing J. Chadscale Photography or just J. Chadscale. I don't know.
Yeah, if you're going to be hired by restaurants and magazines, Scottsdale Living and stuff like that, they're not going to hire Southwestern Photography. They're not. That's personal, what I call consumer work. And so you can keep that brand, by the way, not as a brand, but as a title. So what is your website?
It's called southwesternphotography.com.
There you go. Southwesternphotography.com sounds like a great place to sell prints. And then all you do is on your logo, on your identity stuff, it says southwestphotography.com by J. Chadscale. Boom. So J. Chadscale becomes the creator. And then you have J. Chadscale Photography. Because again, if you're doing lots of fine art landscapes, Jay, that may not be even a button on your commercial side, right? I mean,
okay.
Talk about a hard road to go would be trying to do landscape photography commercially. There's so many people doing it and established people doing it that, and it's all done through magazines anyway. So they're hiring the photographer. And Paula, you said you had something?
Yeah.
These
In the first thing you said, you mentioned my, possible multi-brands, and that's one of the things I've been contemplating as I've been driving all over this weekend. So the writer, yes. Photographer, yes. But how do I change my website so that I start incorporating some of these other channels?
Which would be what's the channel? So you have your paulapuffer.com, right?
Right. I've got my paulapuffer.com.
Okay, paulapuffer.com. There you go.
But right now it's strictly photography because that's what I've been building for
the
last couple of years. And if I start incorporating the writing into that,
then you would have maybe a website that had like writer, author, so you could click on that area. Like that's the only, I struggle with what to do for DonGiannetti.com. And if you click over here, you go off to the photography website. If you click here, you go over to the books. This is my graphic design stuff, and this is coaching stuff that is being reworked as we speak. So, yeah, that's exactly what you do, what you just said. Right here. You just add it as a function, and you take off of your home page, you take off that big photograph, and you replace it with you. I'm Paula Puffer. I'm a photographer and a writer. And, then over on the side, it has your links to your galleries, and it also should have some links to your writings.
Okay.
Yep. It's not a quick process by any means. No, it's not a fast process. No shortcuts. It's just.
So you have a number of lighting essentials and so forth, but they don't have your name prominently in them, I don't believe.
What's
or
that?
do they? Like you have, if you want to, for the different, some of the different sites, you have lighting
Lighting essentials?
essentials. That's
Um,
more, I mean, is that the, how, if you were going to do this over again, would you put it Don Giannotti's lighting essentials or what?
I'm going to add that here. But now if you go to, where is it? Under here? Where is it under? I don't remember where it's under. Yeah, well, this site's just a mess right now. But yeah, I would. Anybody else?
Do the different sections on your website go to subdomains or?
On this website,
From your dongiannetti.com,
yeah. Are they subdomains?
does it then go to,
No.
well, if you click on photography, does it then go to photography.dongiannetti?
Yep. DonGiannettiPhotography.com.
Oh, okay. Oh, so it's a totally different domain.
Yep. Now when you go here, it just simply goes within this website. And then it gives you the different things that I do. So
Okay. So you wouldn't have everything on the same site, just links to the separate,
yes.
have separate
Yeah.
websites and then links from your main one.
Yes.
Okay.
All right.
I want to add. I was wanting to look at Jay's site, and I can't find it. I must have something misspelled or missed. Was
You have to go up to southwesternphotography.com. www. And it's part of 500px.
And there you go.
I got it. Thank you.
All right.
So is that how appropriate or good is that for the purposes that we're talking about? Since it does say Southwestern Photography by Jay Chadskill, does that
Yeah, that's fine.
dilute it?
That's fine.
That's okay.
No, that's fine. Like I say, it's all part of a process.
Okay.
If you don't have multiple channels yet, then you've got the by Jay Chatskill on there. But this is when you need to get a Jay Chatskill website that you can then use to expand, so to speak.
Okay, so just retain that and build the other one, the master one,
Yes.
and incorporate that one into the master one.
Yes.
Okay, well that saves me a little grief. Didn't have to rework everything.
Like I said, it is not a fast process.
Yeah, because I was thinking this is at this point I've been in the Pro 52 course for a year. I'm thinking, well, I wanted to redo the website, and I didn't quite know where or how to go with that because right now I have it on 500px, and they have a bunch of templates you can use, and people do like it. They like the changing graphics on there. But it allows you to do certain things, but it doesn't allow you to do other things. So, for example, you can't put any pricing on there, or like I'm beginning to work with certain groups of people that want to know, like, well, what's it run, like the equestrian crowd. So, I would then have a website for each one of these little groupings then.
No, you don't want a website for each little grouping. Not at all.
Okay, let me just step back a second. So if I right now I have it on the PX 500 PX, which is interesting because you get critiques and you see other people's work, and the website gets sort of like thrown in with it, and you can sell photos on there as well.
Right.
So if I were going to move from that to something beyond this, what would be good places to go next?
I'm totally drawing a blank. I'm not following what you're asking.
Okay. Right now, the website is hosted on 500px.com.
Yeah, this is Southwestern Photography. This is where you sell prints.
Okay.
Right.
And then if I'm going to do a Jay Chadsko, from our following from the conversation, if I were doing a Jay Chadsko website, I wouldn't host it on 500px. I'd host it. I mean, I know Claire's doing something with.
Well, you could host it on 500px. I wouldn't care about that. It would just be, you just have to look at it from a commercial standpoint. You're not going to have a bunch of nature pictures or flower pictures on your commercial website. You're going to have products, travel, and people.
Mm-hmm.
And on this site, you're going to take off the people, the products, projects, and go through it and make sure that the stuff that you're selling is fine art photography that people would want to buy. No one's going to buy this picture of the girl and put it on their wall. None of these pictures are wall art, right? But when you go to your travel pictures, then you have some wall art. She's not wall art, but I would leave it. I would probably leave this in or move it over to your commercial. That's wall art. That's possible wall art. Those are wall art. You see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And then the other thing for fine art photography, I think one thing you've got to do for fine art photography is to make it extremely rare to get. So the flowers here, I would probably have, if I was doing this as a channel to sell prints, I'd probably have 6. That's it. The more choice you give them, the quicker they're going to leave. That's just bottom line. Let's see, landscapes. Same thing here. I just have 6 landscapes. You can rotate them out all the time. That's, if you got 6 here and 4 are selling and 2, you've been up for 2 months and nobody's purchased those 2, swap them out with 2 more. It's the unique quality of the work and the rarity of the work that makes it valuable to folks. Or maybe have 5 black and white or 5 color type of thing.
Jay, have you sold anything at all through 500px?
No, I haven't really pushed it that much. They have to be a certain. First, you can't have your watermark on it. And second, they have to be at least 3,000 pixels on any one side. So they have certain requirements. They're not that rigid, really, but I haven't really modified things so that they all could go up there. But the ones that are up there, I have not had inquiries, no.
Because I did have some pictures on 500px, and I did have big ones on there. And then when they changed it so that you could, standard view was a great big picture, I didn't like that, because I tried to see if I could steal somebody's picture, print it off big enough to go on a card, and I could. Anybody's picture, you could print it off big enough to go on greetings cards with the size they let people see. So I didn't really like that.
Well,
and if you look at the pictures that sell on 500px, it's a specific type of picture. You have to go and have a look at what they're saying is selling.
How do you find that? Where did you see that?
It's in one of the headers.
I mean, the sizes that sell?
No, they don't tell you.
The ones that sell, they're most popular.
The pictures that sell. They don't tell you what size they sell. They don't even tell you if it's a few dollars download. because some of them are a few dollars downloaded, not just prints.
I'll give you my personal opinion. Doing that cheapens your work right across the board, and something I recommend to all fine art photographers. If you want to sell prints, putting up a picture and then letting the customer decide whether they want a 4x6, a 5x7, 8x10, 11x14, 11x17, 16x20, 16x24, blah, 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 is, in my opinion, crazy. That's not how art is done. If you put up a photograph, I would say this picture is available as a 16x20. Done. We don't do 4x6s of it. If you want a 4x6, go shoot it yourself. We're not going to, it's just not an important thing. Because if you're a buyer, think about it. If you're a buyer, it's like, oh, I can just get a cheap one, or I can get, there's levels. And people think of it as levels. When you go to buy a Picasso, and I know I'm being outrageous, but when you go to buy a Picasso, you can't get a 4x6 Picasso. or the same, I want that, can I get that in a 5x7? When you buy Ansel Adams photography, Ansel Adams works are all printed to the size that Ansel felt they were right for. Moonrise Hernandez is a 20x24. They don't have big ones or small ones or whatever. They have 20x24s because Ansel decided that was the size he wanted that print seen at. And that's why I think a lot of people fail, because if I come up here and I click on it and I go, oh, I'd like to buy it, now I can have it put on a note card, on a coffee mug, on the back of a T-shirt. It's not very special if I can put it on a coffee mug. So just think about that as well.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, I think it needs to be sort of defined, as to what it is, and then So I think is that's a good way of putting it.
Yeah, if we don't make our own stuff special, it's very difficult for other people to make it special. So.
Yeah, I mean the predominant way of doing it is they do give people these sizes, and you can get it done in this kind of finish or that kind of finish with this kind of frame or that kind. So it's really a marketing device for.
Right.
But it's not selling fine art as you're putting it.
And one of the questions that I've raised in the past, and probably will raise again at some point, is when did photographers go into the real estate business?
Right.
Why would a 16x20 cost more than a 5x7? Because of the paper? It's negligible. What's a 16x20 at a really fine lab, say White House custom color? 16x20 is what, $12? If you get the custom 16x20, where they really hand do it, I think it's $28 for a 16x20, I think. And then the same thing as an 8x10 is, I believe, $16 or $18. So the difference is $10. Then when we go out to sell it, we sell the 8x10 for $50 and the 16x20 for $200. Well, that's insane. Certainly can't look at me and say, well, I'm selling it for $200 because I paid $10 more for the paper. Because I would say, from a business standpoint, you're an idiot. It doesn't make sense. I'll buy the 8x10 because it's the image I'm buying, not the paper. However, if we basically said to and this is a lot for consumer clients, not for commercial clients, but for consumer clients, why don't consumers go, here you go, here's the picture, and it's $100 for print. And they say, well, what size print can I get? Whatever you want, up to 20x24. I don't care. But it's not, you're not going to pay $6 after I did all the work. It was $6 for a 4x6. It's $100. If you want a 4x6, that's your choice. You want the 4x6. I don't print 4x6. Cheaper than I print anything else, because it's the picture of little Johnny that I'm selling you. I'm telling you, the whole business would change for the better for photographers if that was adopted. Worst case scenario, you spend $16 for that 16 by 20, and so you only make $84 profit on the print. Best case scenario is the lady says, well, we do everything 4 by 6. Great. You just paid $1.50 for the print. You made more money. But it's not your problem what size frame they have. You were hired to take a very special photograph of little Johnny. Question?
Yeah, well, the photograph changes every time it changes the dimensions of the photograph. It changes the photograph.
Well, yeah, and if you shoot it to crop,
inside the same photograph.
You can do a 4 by 6, you can do an 8 by 12, you can do a 16 by 24, and you can do a 24 by 30, I believe it is it 24 or 24 by 36? Yes, 24 by 36. Okay, those are all, so the crops are all the same. That's fine, great. Try to find a frame for a 16 by 24. Go ahead. They'll make them. You got to go custom. You got to go find. They're so rare to find. 8 by 12 mats are rare. Everything's 8 by 10, even though the cameras shoot 8 by 12. I don't have the answer for it. I'm just saying, so now you're cropping. And then of course the other question is where the hell they come up with 5 by 7? What the hell's that about? It doesn't go to anything else. Nothing fits 5 by 7. Even 11 by 14 isn't 5 by 7 doubled. That would be 10 by 14. So, yeah, but you control that, and I think that photographers should control their image all the way through. Other questions?
Do you have recommendations for who to use to sell photos?
Who to use to sell them?
Yeah.
No. 500 pix is fine. I think what I like about 500 pix is they got great templates. They really do have great templates. I don't use them. Jay, when someone orders a print, anybody out there, if someone orders a print from it, who prints the photographs? Is it?
I believe they print them. You're just
500 pix?
You're turning the process over to them, as far as I understand.
It's not them. Aren't they using not B&H, Bay Photo or something like that?
I don't know who they use actually. We could find out.
Yeah. So if someone buys it through 500 pix, they actually print it themselves or through a third party.
Right.
Most of them have third party contracts, Snapfish and that type of thing. But they seem to be good. If you want to sell your own print, so that you can control it, you could use something like DeviantArt. So they order it from you, then you order it from the place that prints your prints, and it's sent off to them. That's the only way I would do it personally. I'd want to maintain absolute quality control over the print. So
not SmugMug and some of these others?
Yeah, SmugMug is fine. They're fine. They're again, you have to go back to what are you doing. You can sell a $50 11 by 14 on SmugMug or 500 pix. I don't think you're going to sell a $500 11 by 14 on SmugMug. I mean, I wouldn't, because the quality of the print. I mean, if I'm going to sell a $500 print, I want a Giclée. I want to know that the inks are archival and that the paper's archival and that it's a piece of art that will last 800 or 900 years, so that it has value, rather than just a photograph that is the same type of photograph that somebody can get a picture of their kid playing soccer. The value has to be there. So if you're going to sell fine art and your price is at a certain price point, then no, you're not going to be able to do that. Fine Art America seems to be a pretty good place to sell wall art also. Just remember those guys. Just all depends on what you're going to sell and who's your target. If it's truly people who collect photography collectors, they're not going to buy from 500 pix or any of that. If it's folks who you've shot some great shots of their horses and they want to buy some prints, then any of these are probably fine. Yep.
I'm interested in putting up photos from events.
Then I would probably, if event photographs, I'd probably go with SmugMug. I think. Anybody else doing events? I think SmugMug would probably be the easiest because they've got that bulk uploader. I don't know if anyone else does.
There's been quite a lot of discussion on Photocamel about putting photos up after the events on things like SmugMug, and basically they don't sell. People don't want to pay for them afterwards. The only way to get them is to part with their money before they leave the event, or to get the money beforehand. Because there's a guy on there who does horse events, and there was somebody else who also does events. And if you wait for the people to come back to your website or to SmugMug afterwards, they don't order anything or very little.
I'm not an event photographer. I have daughters who skated, and there was a time when we first got DSLRs. In the first couple of years of doing that kind of stuff. Mute yourself, folks. If you're not talking, mute yourself. I'm getting up feedback. There was skating competitions, and my friend Daniel and I, we took a couple of printers and some computers down to the skating competition, and we shot the kids out on the ice, and then we made posters from them, and we busted our ass, and we made a lot of money. 3 years later, you can't give this shit away. When Daddy has his own DSLR out there, they don't buy. And the fact of the matter is, if they don't buy at the venue, then they don't buy. Wedding photographers will tell you they have a hard time selling prints offline or online. It just doesn't work. If I were to do it again, I'd restructure the way I did business. I would say, okay, I'm coming to this event. If you would like photographs of your skater, this is what you're going to get. I'm going to photograph her free moves, and I'm going to photograph her short program. And I'm going to photograph and get you at least 40 photographs from each one of those, at least 40 photographs. I'll put them on a CD, and it's $175. And then you go out there with your list, and if little Jennifer is skating and she signed up, you photograph little Jennifer, and if little Louise is not skating, or not signed up, you don't photograph her. Because if you stand there and photograph her and fill up card after card after card, you're just not going to sell anything. It just doesn't work anymore. Unless you can print there. If you can print at the rink, at the venue, if you've got printers actively printing there, you can do better, because they can actually pay you and leave with it. But if they can't pay you and leave with it, they're just not. It's just been my personal experience, and the experience of a lot of people I know in the event industry, that it just doesn't work.
One other thing that they found was when they were showing them on screens for people to look at the event, people were going up and taking pictures of them with their smartphones. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So they didn't have to pay for them.
Absolutely.
So they didn't care that it wasn't great quality. They just wanted a picture they could put onto Facebook.
Oh yeah. Yeah. And so that brings up an interesting point, Claire, because what you have to ask yourself is, as you move into photography to make a living, who's your client? Somebody who doesn't care enough about the quality of the image, that it's just crap, but they can stick it on Facebook. That's what they want. Let me tell you something, guys. That's not a client anymore. Those people are done. Stop even marketing to them. We make people mad sometimes when we go, oh, I hate these Craigslist photographers who do weddings for $500. They're killing my business. Dude, if your business is being killed by a guy who does them for $500 on Craigslist, you need to do some heavy soul searching. I'm going to go down a path that says you don't have a business. If the people that you're going after can't tell the difference in the quality between a good photograph and a camera phone capture off a screen, they're not your clients. They're not even worth, like I said, marketing to. You've got to find a better group of people. That's hard for a lot of people to do because they have spent a long time in that demographic, and now it's like, well, those are my clients. Those are the people I know, and now they're taking pictures with their smartphones. Well, they used to be your clients. Things changed. They got a smartphone. They got Facebook. They got Instagram. And now if it looks good on their smartphone, they're done. I told you guys the story. I'm sure I mentioned it. My middle daughter brought me her camera, and she goes, I need a new camera. And I said, why? She goes, well, it's full. I said, oh, well, we'll take some of the pictures off the card and put them on your computer. And she looks at me like I just said to her, she goes, why would I do that? I said, well, then you can pick the ones that you want to print and make prints. And she's like, now I'm speaking a foreign language backwards. She's like, why would I do that? I don't want them on my computer. I don't want to make prints. I want them on my camera. And it hit me. The camera is her delivery device. She shoots them and shares them on her camera. So I took the 1 gig card out, put a 4 gig card in, put her pictures back on, and she was happy. It's changing, and those people are no longer our clients. I have been always focused on commercial photography on my Project 52. And the reason is, right now, it may seem like consumer photographers are all the rage, and they are, but they are not the income. So when you go onto these forums like Facebook, a headshot forum there, and there's like 900 people doing headshots. Yeah, they made 900 people doing headshots. They're doing what? One a month? One every 2 months? The business isn't there. It's sort of a hobby / business. In commercial photography, you can build a business still. Still, you can. That skate company who makes the blades, they're not going to be happy with a photograph for their ad of somebody's screen capture off of someone else's laptop. Best way to look at it. They're going to want something much better. So those people are lost to us. All right, anything else? Good. I'm going to process this without closing the lid and get it posted. Thanks everybody for coming along. I hope it was worth it for you to get up early on a Sunday morning, and I appreciate y'all being here. And I will see you next week. We start back at it tomorrow night.
Thank you, John.
All right. Good night.
Thank you, Don. It was good. Build towards the next.